The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Go to the church, though.
Tawali man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanya now, recorder. Do you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we
Hi, Rogers. Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well,
At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later,
Hi, Rogers. Can I ask you something?
shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes, it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
this message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk. At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sawagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindye, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m., Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m., featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kizza Besigye every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch, The Political Dice, Sundays, 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers, and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are the Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
commercial break. You're still watching
So that is
the
not
Hotline
visible
Show
outside.
right
Yeah.
here on Digital
No, when she
TV.
said why, I was wondering.
You're still, we are live. All right, 5 minutes past 9 p.m. This is our second and final hour of the show. My name is Edgar Matthew Karanga. It's a privilege that you're still watching us. Please send in your questions, your comments. I'm going to be reading them subsequently as we continue with the program. Last week, Dr. Besigye was arraigned in court. That was on Wednesday, and he was charged with 4 counts. One is soliciting for logistics or support for causing something or an insurrection in the country, but also possession of arms, 3 cases of possession of arms with him and another gentleman called Haj Obed Lutali. Now, these gentlemen have been remanded up until 2nd of December, but they were charged in the General Court Martial. Now, this has brought about a lot of sentiments and a lot of words. First of all, starting from the evolution of the real event. Couldn't Dr. Besigye have been arrested really on his return? What was behind the mind of going and picking him from Nairobi? Some called it kidnapping him from that particular area, and of course driving him to here. What were the legalities here and there? We are looking into that particular issue. And of course, over the weekend, some videos or audios, in fact they're audios, and some voices of Dr. Besigye, purportedly of Dr. Besigye, and a few individuals trying to talk about getting arms, drones, helicopters, and things like that. And many Ugandans are saying this is artificial intelligence, but according to a story that broke today evening by Chimp Reports, this was not just artificial intelligence, but this was a pattern. According to Chimp Reports, there is an individual, an informant, a businessman who's based in the Middle East, especially in Dubai, who was having conversation with Dr. Besigye over the time, and they were plotting this particular issue. And this person acted as a whistleblower, meeting Mr. Museveni in Kisozi, giving him all this intelligence, and Mr. Museveni, carried out this operation. And of course, according to that particular report, we're not sure about it, but this operation took over 600 million, no more than 600 million, to pick Dr. Besigye from Kenya to bring him here. This is a story that has just broke today evening, according to Chimp Reports. We're not sure about this particular story, but that is some of the issues that were raised there. I want to start with you, sir. Counsel Eron, you were a lawyer. What do you make of this particular experience of Dr. Besigye, picking him from Kenya, bringing him here? Generally, what do you make of how this gentleman was arrested in the first place?
Wrong, illegal, arbitrary, embarrassing. It's mind-boggling. I have no words to use it. Mm-hmm. No citizen of Uganda, no East Africa, no person in the world should be treated the way Besigye was treated. Kenya has become an unsafe space for foreigners in that country since the murderous Ruto assumed leadership in Kenya. People are being killed. Ethiopians, Southern Sudanese are being kidnapped from Kenya. Turkish. Yeah. There is no foreigner who is safe.
Pakistan too.
There's a family that has been compensated money, but I mean, what's compensation? So, foreigners in Kenya, including East Africans, are not safe. But it still behoves our country to treat our leaders with dignity, including opposition leaders. There is nothing wrong with opposition people seeking logistical support for removing the government of Uganda through legal means. You get me? All political activity runs on money. Politicians should look for money if they want to be effective. They should fundraise. It's legitimate, it's in the constitution. So the idea that Besigye was looking for money to run what is it? People's Front?
For transition.
For transition. That's a no-brainer. So it is expected. It would be responsible if Besigye didn't raise the money. But the video itself was fake. The Besigye I've interacted with, the Besigye that people have followed is a non-violent man. He does not believe in a violent overthrow of this government.
What do you mean?
If he did believe it, he wouldn't have gone into He wouldn't be doing what he's doing.
He used arms to take when they were taking government in this country. So you cannot say
That was on the under the leadership of Museveni.
Yeah, but he
But
was still a gunman.
having seen the blunder he had done, having seen that the violent change of government does not guarantee peace and democracy thereafter, they disabused themselves of the notion. Besigye, Muchamunta and other group, they said, young people begged them and they refused. They said, no, this doesn't work. You have to go for non-violence. So I know that non-violence is their creed. It is their method of dealing with the military dictatorship of President Museveni. They don't intend to use guns. They intend to use civil means of arousing opposition temperature until it overwhelms the dictatorship. Now, going for a private book launch of another senior opposition leader in Kenya, Martha Karua, it's a legitimate activity. Meeting Ugandans while you're there, it's a legitimate activity. Thinking and that it is good, the Museveni's dictatorship should be removed is okay. It should be encouraged. That Besigye has those thoughts is not rocket science. He wanted this regime gone yesterday. He just doesn't want to use guns. So when you concoct a video, an audio, claiming that he wanted guns, that's unfortunate. But in the legal side, this was an abduction. It was illegal. It was a forced removal from one territory to another, not following the law. It was following just force. It's not even pretending to follow the law. Besigye is civilian, having been abducted illegally, forcibly removed from rendition without following extradition procedures. The military dictatorship takes him into a kangaroo court that is part of the executive.
What do you mean by a kangaroo court? That's a court that is mandated by the constitution of the land.
No, there's no provision in the constitution that mandates kangaroo courts. UPDF Act is not part of the constitution, and the UPDF Act was created to cater for the military. That's not just my opinion. It is an opinion of 4 decisions of the Constitutional Court of Uganda. Different sets of panels of the Constitutional Court have affirmed the logic, the constitutional logic, that the only court set up to try civilians for criminal offenses they have committed anywhere where Ugandan courts have jurisdiction are civilian courts, which are part of the judicature, which are part of the judiciary, which can guarantee the fair trial. That is a non-derogable right. Independent courts, fair courts, courts that are accessible to the public, not a military court where even some lawyers can't access. Have you ever tried going to General Court Martial? Me, I have been. I've been in that court since 2014. It's a military establishment. You are either in the military since the Rwenzori trials in 2014, 2016, you are surrounded by soldiers. There is an atmosphere of fear and intimidation.
And that's what it's called.
Ordinary people.
A court martial.
So, so that court martial is kangaroo in that sense, that it is the opposite of what a court should be. A court should be free, accessible, transparent, fair, independent.
So under what circumstances does the general court martial work?
The general court martial works properly as a disciplinary mechanism, tribunal for soldiers. If I am not a soldier, don't take me to soldiers to discipline me.
So how about a retired colonel, a retired soldier?
A retired soldier, no. A retired soldier, when you retire, you stop being a soldier, you become a civilian. Even if you are part, yes, you are technically a civilian, even if you are part of the reserve force, anytime you might be called upon, until you are called upon. You are not part of the military.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you.
They even give certificate for retiring. They free you. That's why you can contest for president of Uganda after retiring.
Okay.
Do you know that a serving soldier cannot contest?
Yes, I've had.
Good. You have your answer.
Take part in politics.
You have your answer.
I'm going to come back to you to just also explain to us how someone caught with arms in another country is tried in another country.
No, it can't happen. That is without jurisdiction. It is illegal.
This gentleman is saying that there is this kangaroo court, that court of the General Court Martial. And many or some people share the same sentiment that this court is used for political games, for the wheels of the state. It's an extension of the executive, as he said. What do you think about that, sir? That narrative?
Well, the position of court-martial needs to be made clear. But let me just say a few things, because that's the gist of your question.
Yes, sir.
Then I conclude with it. Now, Counsel says that it's legitimate to think of removing Museveni. That should have been gone by yesterday. Yes, it's ideally that is why opposition is. They think about that, they mobilize their members and they do what. But all this, there are means, parameters to do it in a general election or in an election that is organized. Counsel is saying that the audio that talks about arms is not true. In other words, he's not saying, in other words, he's saying using force of arms is illegal. But he's saying the audio was concocted. So therefore, at this stage, you leave it to the courts to prove it. The prosecution will have to prove it.
The courts are kangaroo.
But at least we know, Counsel also agrees that the military aspect forms an illegality. Only that he's saying it was introduced in the audio. But then we leave that to court. Now on extradition, there are procedures. Again, I think the Besigye team will have to raise it as a ground which will be contested. And I'm yet to see the government lawyers on how they will argue that position. But the law is there, and I hope they did follow the due diligence of the law. I've not been so privy to the procedures. As I told you, I've been in Toro. I just came back to the capital just the other day. But I also want to draw your attention to what Besigye and other politicians, sometimes I hear the sentiment also on Honorable Chagulanyi. They have been saying, Umusaja ajagenda.
Yeah.
And when you ask how he's going, they don't tell you, not by election. In fact, Besigye said he's not going for election. He's using other means. Of course, if other means was meant to be an insurrection, that is itself illegal. And that is why in most cases, government has been seen to be deploying for an insurrection. Civilians rising up and walking to State House. Because by word of mouth, Besigye said he was not going for an election, he was using other means.
These elections don't work.
Don't work, but the man will go. And of course, nobody could believe that the man will go by merely going to church, to All Saints Church and pray, and the man goes.
Though you don't even accept
the only option was an illegality. And therefore, if this is what is starting to manifest, then it is unfortunate. And of course, that is why, honestly, Besigye has a low opinion about the elites. Why? Because he has called on them to join in the mutiny. He has called on them to join on the insurrection. He has called on them to join on the uprising. But as I said, consciousness of a person is a materiality. Many people come and say, come on, including the youth. He said, but you're telling me to go on the street. You're telling me this thing is bad. You know what the youth tell you? They talk the Uganda courtesy that let me come back. Courteous, kankomeo,
there, you know they're not going to come back.
He's not coming because he knows his interest. He knows the aspirations the government has met. He feels it and his parents. So when you tell such a youth we go on the street, he will tell you kanjije. The few who go are the ones now the police restrain them here and there. And that has been the line. And that is an illegality. Now, on the question of court-martial, it is true that it appeared in Court of Appeal. And it is true that Court of Appeal ruled that a military court-martial, civilians should not be taken there. The original text in the law, which was a law passed by Parliament, which the Constitutional Court said that law was passed wrongly. The law was saying if you are found in possession of military stores, or even if there are some offenses which ideally would be committed by service officers called service offenses, there are some offenses which they were saying should be tried in court-martial. Now, in the wisdom, in the opinion of the courts, the 4 judges, they said that was not good. Meaning, therefore, that law would be, even if it is passed by parliament, it would be now a nullified provision of that law. However, Attorney General and government seem to have a contrary view in the reading of that law, and therefore launch an appeal in the Supreme Court, which is waiting for a verdict. What we are not sure, Counsel has also not mentioned, is whether the Attorney General got a stay of the execution, that much as you have not applied, much as you have ruled this, it should not take effect. Let us wait for a constitutional court. My opinion is that if constitutional court pronounce itself on this, so that Ugandans are clear way out of this. Because in any case, if you have to say you're going to have a fair trial in court-martial, that fair trial will still be in these ordinary courts anyway. So, if the idea in the opinion of the legislatures, if in the opinion of members of parliament, they thought that that kind of offenses would be handled there better. So it's just a matter of transferring it to, they can even pass another amendment to a penal code to transfer the same offenses to, if a civilian is found with military stores, he commits an offense and therefore then put the jurisdiction that side. I do not see why it is a life or death thing. But I concur with my friend to say that I am a retired officer, for example. I wouldn't therefore be subject to service offenses. Service offenses are offenses which are contained in that law. That law which provision was challenged. That sections were challenged. So I am not subject to service offenses. I'm not subject to to court-martial, like Besigye is not. Now, Besigye is not taken there because he was a former retired soldier. Besigye is taken there allegedly for the provision of holding military stores. Those particular offenses that the prosecution thinks it should be prosecuted there.
But the opposition feels those are political accusations. They are political, and it's not only about Besigye. Even the 36 FDC members, even the National Unity Platform detainees, those young people from that, they say it's really political in nature. What do you think about that narrative?
If a section of the law is preferred against somebody, and the ingredient, the offense is put there, then I don't know how political it is. If it is dismissed, maybe on a ruling, like Justice Katusi one time said on some case like that the prosecution had done it in a way that it could not even convict a chicken thief. After court has pronounced itself and there's no appellate position, it is then that we can say this was a political thing. See how court has done it. But so far, to the effect that a particular charge, a section of the law is pronounced on you, and the ingredients of the offenses, they are veiled, then we wait for it. Political would mean you are just collected and dumped in prison. Let me tell you a clear political case. There was a time in Obote 1 where they passed a law called Preventive Detention Act. Preventive Detention Act means if you see Karanga is about to
do a crime,
you arrest him. Yes. That would be purely political. How do you judge I'm about to? Anyway, that was the law. So you would be arrested and charged for when you are about to. But ideally, a political crime should be arresting people, not charging them, putting them in prison, and that is purely political.
So why
if you are arrested and a charge preferred and read in court, then it is until the verdict pronounced that you can say it's a political.
Okay, comment on the process of how people are arrested these days from other countries, abducted, not passed through immigration. whisked and brought back to Uganda and then charged. As a lawyer, what do you think of that phenomenon? Because it has happened not only to Dr. Besigye, but also remember the 36 FDC cadres who were also abducted from Kenya, brought back, and then charged here. What do you think about that entire process, sir?
I don't know whether Counsel is aware. I don't know whether we have an agreement, extradition agreement between Uganda and Kenya. In many jurisdictions, countries have such kind of an agreement. So if you have such kind of agreement between two states, then you operate under that scheme of an agreed extradition arrangement between two countries. That if you get a criminal, a suspect in your country, you bring it, and you get that side, you bring it. So it is I have not checked yet what agreement Uganda has with Kenya. But ideally, I started with it, that there are procedures of doing it. Like getting somebody in Canada or Argentina and wanting to bring. There are procedures. And that's why I'm saying the Besigye team will want to start with it, like a preliminary objection. They will want to start by contesting that. And I started by saying I'm yet to wait to see the position Attorney General or the DPP will take in this situation. But those are the two issues in that kind of arrangement. There is a law to be followed. It's not just grabbing anybody and crossing. Two, states always have agreements, and we have to examine if there's one such between Uganda and Kenya. Otherwise, bringing a person across the border is supposed to be a lawful process. And sometimes, if you don't do it well, can lead to a miscarriage of justice. Even if the person you had arrested really prima facie had committed some offenses, but you lose your case. So I also urge those actors who do it to do it in due process of the law, because you end up killing your own case at some point.
Okay. You're still watching the Hotline Show. There are some comments here that are to you. This is Kavuma Alex. He says, I think, Honorable, which statements are from a point of someone who hasn't been on ground. We are in a country where people die of hunger, and he's there talking about the few banana plantations he has seen. He has seen of the government big wigs.
Few.
Then there is this one calls themselves the legal boutique Uganda. The ghetto came, and it came to be heard. Just hear and then react. For now, stop with Mr. Mhoizi Junius, who says, Awich Pollar shouts at the highest pitch when trying to emphasize his points. Is that not against the decorum? Do you want to just respond to any of these comments as I come to Counsel Eron?
Well, first of all, I thank them for their views. It is their views, and it is healthy debating. But I just like to say that the Matoke that is talking is not few. The entire region is in productivity. And I did not only talk of Matoke, I talk of well-planned gardens. You remember my words. Well-planned, you see them across the hill. And I talked not only Matoke, but I talked of general productivity. And I even said that a good constitution should be the end result to see that there's production or productivity going on in society. So it is not few Matoke. And about the high tone that he was saying, I think, I don't know when I got it, but I would like to show him that in many of my discussions, I'm very polite and actually loved. I can say that without fear of contradiction. Yeah, and actually loved. But I think the highest point today that I raised my tone was to demonstrate that rather than a candidate persuading votes, a candidate said, I would abuse you, intimidate you until you vote for me. That was the only moment I raised my voice. But my friends should know that not only in this program, but all programs are in the country that I appear, I'm a very polite and well-loved person.
Exactly. And when they ask you, when they ask you about germination, you answer germination.
I answer germination. Don't ask me germination and I tell you how long Museveni has stayed in power. How long? When it is germination, I tell you how long Museveni.
With Counsel retired Major Pollar Awich from the National Resistance Movement and Counsel Eron Kiiza. He is an advocate of the High Court. Counsel, let's start with the issue of finding arms in a foreign country, but also trying the person you found arms with, let's say hypothetically they were there, and bringing them to Uganda. First paint a picture for us.
Before, you people like arms, but let's first talk about extradition and the agreement. That was a very interesting area he took us through. So with extradition procedures, there must be a bilateral extradition treaty.
Agreement.
Yeah, agreement. Treaty is a better word.
Okay.
Between the two states for them to exchange people who are in their territories following the extradition treaty. But each country must have an extradition law. In the extradition law, there is a role for court to assess. So you apply that we want to extradite this person.
Yes.
And now the court assesses whether there is a political question issue. The court will not authorize, and this is, there has to be a civilian court. It will not authorize extradition procedures if there is a risk of political persecution.
So, for example, if we say Kakwenza,
so most people are like Kakwenza, not Besigye, because for Besigye, he didn't even need any of this brouhaha. He was going to come back anyway. But if, for example, there is an extradition treaty between Germany and Uganda, and Kakwenza is in Munich, Munchen, they call it Munchen, or Barin, as the case may be. So he will be, the court in Barin or in Munich will sit and decide here from both sides. The prisoner will get or the refugee or the person will get his lawyer, the government will get the lawyer acting, of course, in the interest of theirs, and initiate, and the judge will sit and see. Kakwenza called the CDF this. Isn't this, is he safe? If returned, is there a risk? And then the court makes a decision. The interesting thing actually is Julian Assange. Do you remember Julian Assange? He lost extradition proceedings in the UK, and he went up to the Supreme Court of the UK, and he was being extradited, and they made the deal, and somehow, but the area where he was released from was a territory of the US. But they made the deal and so on because of international pressure. The international people were on his side, but the legal system, he didn't succeed. In a UK that is highly independent judiciary, he couldn't stop extradition proceedings. That's how it's supposed to be. You don't just walk in a sovereign territory and pick people and go them. If you remember, one of the things that caused problems to Kihora was how the Rwandan situation was handling. Some of those incidents were alleged that the people would come here and pick, and people both here and they were outraged. It doesn't happen in a stable country. They are basket republics where you can go and pick, like what Ruto wants to make Kenya into, to turn into. But what you should remember is that there was a time, even at the worst of times in Uganda, Kenya was a safe haven. I don't know about Major Awich, but many people in government, many lawyers who are senior to me, were teaching in Kenya. By the way, Besigye was also in Kenya as a doctor. That's how he gets quoted. So people, when they found fire, when it was too hot here in this kitchen called Uganda, they would run to where? To Kenya. Now, they are not going to dare to go to Kenya because it has become unsafe. It's dangerous for an East African region to not have one country where people will think that they can run to. Because the people who are encouraging that situation, they will see the results for themselves. But the extradition, so if it is not an extradition treaty and they are informal arrangements, those are not the laws.
The only other thing that can accept it may be deportation if that person is
now deportation happens not at the instance of Uganda, at the instance of the Kenya, for example. Kenya thinks that Besigye has breached Kenyan law. They deport you. They deport you. But even with the deportation, although it is always swift, if someone is swift, he can also subject it to a process. Because even here, I think you have ever seen a judicial review of deportation. It's rare, in a deportation, in extradition, it's more guaranteed. In deportation, it's quicker. Normally, you don't have a chance to run to court. But even in it, sometimes there are exceptions. But separate agreements are not part of our law. For us, all Ugandan laws are published. But actually, that's also Kenya. That's where the country. If it is separate, it's not a law. A law must be publicly accessible, non-gazetted. As soon as the president assents to a law, it is taken to the Gazette and published. Yes, so that everyone has a chance to access it.
Exactly.
But you were asking me about arms. I know you people. You want arms?
Yes, I wanted arms also.
You want arms?
Can I say something about a tradition? Just to do this. You see, I'm saying this because
yes, sir.
NRM is one government that wants justice. In our manifesto as a party, there's a big component of justice and order sector, which we promise, including promising to recruit more judges. So we want justice, and that's why I'm saying this. I just wanted to bring in, if it could help, the case of this guy of ADF was called
Jamil Mukulu.
Tanzania.
Tanzania.
I think the Mukulu case, Jamil case was taken to a court in Tanzania, and it went through the same process, and it was brought here. I think that is the easiest successful extradition precedent that I can cite. He went through. So, and that's why I was saying the state actors who are there should do in due process of the law, because you end up injuring your own case.
And you brought that example, and one of our viewers had commented on the same, saying it seems the law is segregative because Jamil Mukulu, a renowned ADF rebel, wasn't tried in the general court martial, yet NUP supporters were tried there. What's Major Awich's comment on that?
Me, the only example I was picking from, not the end case of Mukulu, that is the trial, but I wanted to use it to illustrate extradition process.
Exactly.
Because he went through, his bringing back was granted by the High Court of Tanzania, and it was brought, and you could see that he didn't raise any dust, and even his lawyers would not go to take advantage of that situation, because due processes in Tanzania was done according to the extradition. Now about his case of being taken there, of course the ingredient of the offense would be that he would have been found somewhere in possession of military stores, and I think it would be a lighter offense than sometimes state reserve the right to charge you of a higher offense. In a case where I had declared war on government and I was running a guerrilla organization, I think being found in possession of military stores and being charged in court martial would be a lighter offense.
Okay.
And in any case, you will have to prove which stores you found with Jamil Mukulu. So, but in either case, it is the discretion of the DPP to choose, although he's saying that is discriminatory choice anyway.
Okay, no problem. Counsel, comment on that issue, but also paint a picture for us as a country. Where are we going with these things happening? People are trying to want arms at the end of the day, but specifically also the audios. How is that evidence admissible? Is it even admissible in court? The voice notes that we are listening to, how can that evidence be treated?
Electronic evidence is admissible in court as a principle, but it must be genuine, it must be authentic. So the court has a procedure of subjecting whether it is authentic, whether it's reliable, whether it's... If it is concocted, there are also methods. You remember Besigye has been a serial victim of these concoctions. In the Chakua case, they tried to give, I think, Chakua to speak through, and they were exposed. In one of the cases where he was arrested for moving to one of the markets, they brought a video and they concocted it, and it could be seen that from here to here you wouldn't, it couldn't be in 1 minute, it could take probably a whole day.
So this is not the first time?
So this is not the first time that state is concocting evidence, especially electronic evidence, and failing. But this is the first time the state is using concocted evidence in a court martial against Besigye, because Besigye, I don't remember him. I think this might be the second time they have tried to put him in a court martial and fail. But his trials have been in civilian courts, and I think they are fed up with civilian courts.
And just to add, he has never been convicted of
No,
any crime.
Not once, not once. Even when he got tired of some case, I remember appearing, I think he had appeared like 36 times, and he just stopped going there. And even the state was embarrassed. They just didn't continue with that case. So if it is a cooked up case like it looks to be, it will suffer. The thing about some of these trumped up charges is that the punishment is in the pre-trial. What you have already forced. Besigye had gone for a book launch, he didn't attend it. The meeting, allegedly, he didn't attend it, that he was supposed to attend. Your entire program, and he's a traveled man, he knows how travelers, you don't want to be disrupted.
Exactly.
Even a plane being... there is an airplane in the region that likes to combine some flights. It's not convenient. Even just a few minutes delay can be the difference whether you attend a conference or whether you catch up with the connecting flight. There are many issues with that. So when you get out of Uganda, you are actually in some level of almost vulnerable state. You don't want to be disturbed. You don't want to be interfered. So already Besigye has been punished. Even if nothing more happens, he has been punished. He is now on remand in Rizela. There is his wife has had to leave the job and come here, and she's now doing what Besigye is supposed to be doing, trying to mobilize support for him. So it's convenience. People who run the government must know that it's okay, you can eat the 600 million, but get a way of eating it without making.
We have not yet confirmed that.
I mean, whatever the amount could be.
No, I'm not showing the money.
I mean, certainly they spent money. Don't think the security operations missions are expensive, especially cross-border ones. They're expensive. Make no mistake.
And
even you have to pay for the intelligence, even if it is fake, by the way. You have to pay for it. It is also costly. So there is a lot of inconvenience. There is a lot of cost. But what if you eat that money without harassing people, without getting them through all this?
Because one time he says here, Dr. Besigye said that these charges are always put on him from a capitalist mindset, that they will, the state can, so the people in the army can say now there is a legit cause, give us this amount of money because we have seen a threat here. And yet there is no threat in the
You see, sense. Even war can be a business.
Yeah, it's a business.
You get me? War can be a business. So then what about these moral missions and so on and so forth? People sometimes sit somewhere and want to eat money and think, what can we do? In intelligence gathering, and what even consumers of intelligence have to think carefully to distinguish intelligence that looks credible but it's not credible, and sometimes the line is very thin. Of course, on the other hand, if you become too dismissive of intelligence, then you can also suffer. I think Major Witt would say that you would rather err on the side of caution. But no, the thing of Besigye doesn't paint Uganda nicely. Okay. It doesn't paint Kenya nicely. Kenya was under Chibaki. Post-Moi, Kenya had become this new breed of African country that was cultivating an image as a young democracy, with its struggles, but trying to be democratic. We are proud, generally speaking, of its judiciary, although there are efforts to undermine it. The constitution is one of the best in the world. They have a vibrant civil society. So these ones are unfortunate, and all of this is happening under Ruto's civilian dictatorship. While Museveni is a military dictator, Ruto is a civilian dictator, and he's trying to turn Kenya into a big Uganda.
Okay, you said it's not legal for someone to be tried, for example, if they found them with arms in Kenya and you try them in Uganda.
There is no jurisdiction.
There's no jurisdiction.
There is no Uganda's jurisdiction is for things that happen within Uganda. So if I go and beat up someone in Kenya, the Kenyans try me and charge me. Kenya has a law, by the way. You might be here saying Kenya has a law, has institutions. So if Besigye committed crimes there, and they are real crimes, the Kenyan police would have arrested him, the DPP would have sanctioned charges. You would have heard that the Besigye is on remand in Nairobi, in Miami court. What is I forget the name. There are Nairobi courts, whatever. There are many courts in Kenya. He would have been dealt with by the judiciary, the DPP, the police, and other other elements of the justice and order sector in Kenya. The Kenyan authorities are very clear. Besigye has not committed any crime on their soil.
Okay.
Whoever has a problem is Uganda. Now, Ugandans are saying that he committed a crime in their hotels. Uganda has no jurisdiction. So the decent thing for Uganda to do is to report to Kenya with evidence. You get me? And then legally take Besigye to Kenya for trial.
Okay, there are some narratives.
But I don't think that is going to happen.
There are some narratives that the arms or the use of arms of violence is the only resort to ousting Mr. Museveni and his government. And my question to you is that after failure and defeat, is that the only provision? Or what do you think fuels such a sentiment? And does it come from a losing spirit? Can we say that the opposition has generally lost, that the only way is the illegal way?
I mean, if you really want to challenge government, you have to challenge it legally. It's better to challenge it legally. One, you remain alive. Secondly, the illegal means have led us to where we are. NRM challenged the government illegally, and you see what we are in, the chaos. Spiraling corruption, no drugs in hospital. What? The economy is crumbling while the few people in NRM think it is going up. The thing is that from the bitter lesson of the NRM performance and the promised revolution, and NRM is the best demonstration of the fact that wars and guns can lead a country to nowhere. We need a new way of dealing with this.
So violence
no, violence is not an answer to our problems. We need non-violent removal of these bad guys and replace them with more competent people to run this country, people who are actually patriotic.
Okay.
I don't want the people pretending to run the country when they are stealing from it. No.
Thank you. That is Counsel Eron Kiiza. Please, I was coming to you.
I saw Counsel saying if I go and beat up somebody in Kenya, Kenya can
be able to try him,
and then that Kenya has the law, all the laws. But I thought Counsel would have also brought in this dimension of crimes in Uganda of extraterritoriality. The list of crimes, I may not list them now, because as the Counsel knows, a good lawyer is not the one who crimes in the head, but knows where to get it. There are crimes in Uganda here, where if you commit outside, you can be tried in Uganda. So we need to look at the charge sheets, what the state will prefer against Besigye, if part of these crimes are crimes of extraterritoriality. That is crimes that you can commit outside. Even if you commit in Canada, Uganda will try you. Even if you commit in America, Uganda will try you. So those crimes are listed. So we are yet to wait and see the list that Attorney General will, the prosecution will come up with it, and to see if these are part of the crimes of extraterritoriality. Those crimes are there. No, there are others which don't have extraterritoriality, but there are other crimes, and the list is clear. That this one, even if you commit it in Singapore, Uganda will still try you.
Okay. So what do you comment on, what do you think about people who are trying to believe in violence as the only resort to take over government? What do you think about that narrative? You were a part of such people, but by then you were a child, so I cannot really blame you.
It is bad. Should be. They should forget about it and remove it, because it's not a good process. Of course, the Council knows Kelsen theory of revolution, that when you take over government and it takes constitutional effect, then you're government by law. So NRM by legal notice number 1 of 1986 became government. But NRM was applied revolutionary violence. It was a revolution to liberate the country and give it back to the civilian. And
the
how was it
civilians
given
get
back
it
to the
back?
civilian? Was given back to the civilian by saying, first of all, the constitution provides the military subordinate to civil authority. And of course, Counsel and I has repeatedly mentioned that you can't even contest for a presidency unless you're a civilian. So, how you use the revolutionary violence to liberate the people and give the people power is what we have done. And therefore, from there on, non-democratic means, violent means, is not a good thing. And that is why a strong state, like the state we have in Uganda, will try to stop that and grant the democratic means.
Okay, thank you so much. We have 10 minutes to the top of the hour, which is the end of this particular show. But we have a couple of questions. One, I think both are to you, Counsel Eron. One says, what does this incident speak on the relations of both countries? I think he's meaning Kenya and Uganda. Then he continues to say, as we head to the 2026 general elections, it seems Museveni is using such tactics to suppress the opposition in Uganda. What do you think, Counsel Eron?
The relationship between Uganda and Kenya is actually good, but what this incident exemplifies is for wrong purposes, the causal relationship between two dictators at the helm of these countries. Ruto is trying to copy and paste Museveniism from Uganda to Kenya, where I think it might not work, but the little it works is already with devastating consequences. You can't count how many nationals are dead or have been renditioned from that area, losing jobs. The Turkish, simply because of the same politics, because the Light Academy tycoon is at loggerheads with Erdogan in Turkey. Like it's all petty politics, but the Kenyan presidents have always been above the fray, saying that even if, the way you see South Africa, they can deal with a country, but still host and respect the rights of an opposition in South Africa. Kenya was the same in the region here. It has changed. And it is sad because even under Amin, even under Moi dictatorship, Ugandans were in Kenya, in exile.
Yes.
And they were not being picked up like chicken on the street. So it's very absurd. So the relationship between the people of Uganda and the people of Kenya is happy, is good. They love each other, they marry each other, they attend each other's functions, they visit each other even up to now. Okay. But the presidents are up to some evil plan.
Okay.
Yeah, and the sooner both countries change their presidents, the better for the East African region. What was the other question?
It's what I want to read. As we head to the 2026 general elections, it seems Museveni is using such tactics to suppress opposition in Uganda. What do you think?
Museveni has never left the bush, in a sense that he's still the gorilla that we welcomed in 1986. So yes, he will continue harassing the opposition. It's up to the opposition to be resilient and resist or counter that harassment. But the idea that Museveni can be there without, even if Museveni did not have a strong enemy, he would create one. His default position is fighting. He's a violent man. He believes in guns. He can't survive without a gun. He can't walk without a gun. Even when there is a disaster, he goes in a Bududa, wherever you see him, he's a man of guns. He worships guns. He hugs guns. He fires guns. He is a gunman. So that is what his opposition have to deal with.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Jen, as we come to the close of the conversation, Counsel, I want you to paint a picture for where the country is moving now with the trajectory that we are seeing. And this is, by the way, to just add on this issue, that we have a year to the election, and you know what happens every time an election here is there. It will not always be as business as usual. What do you think about the country as we enter such a season and such a time?
No, I think you already have your answer, because it's an election season. NRM is an election thief. It's an election stealing machine. NRM is undergirded by militarism. Soldiers will get away from the barracks wherever they are and go in your villages to ensure that you vote the person they want. It's basically, it's more of the basic things you're seeing. more harassment of opposition people. Already it has started. TikTokers are being convicted for even skits and games and plays. So we shall see more of
One was sentenced to
same.
32 months.
We shall see more of the same in proceedings that are clearly illegal.
Thank you so much, Counsel Eron Kiiza.
Okay.
I'm going to come to you, Honorable Pollar, which your last remarks, but generally on the country, you always have a positive outlook when it comes to Uganda's improvement. Do you still carry the same sentiment, or something has changed, sir?
No, something has not changed. If it is on the matter of the Dr. Kizza Besigye, it is a matter in court and it will be proceeding, and Besigye has gone through that, the truth will come out. So we leave that to judiciary. But on the holistic picture of the country, I'm optimistic and very positive about it. Uganda is on the right course. The good thing that we have is that unlike some states, countries which don't have a strong state, we know of countries where some part of the country would not even be having a presence of a state. You find the whole eastern or whatever region is completely stateless. In the case of Uganda, with the 45 million people also, we have a strong state, and that is a state that can detect a possible procedures of use of violence to overthrow a government. And in the process, what have we gained? The 38 or so years NRM has been here. Karanga, countries have died. Uganda has not. Yugoslavia died to the extent that even Serbia and Montenegro qualified for quarterfinal World Cup. They still broke it to 2 countries. So now if you win the cup, where will you take it? Sudan has broken. Somalia has broken. Libya has broken. Many countries have broken. So the ability to have a strong state is how we shall continue to be, that the people has put in the 3rd schedule of the Constitution, the indigenous communities, from Kisoro to Karamoja, from Arua to Kampala, we shall continue to exist harmoniously as a country. And that is why I call upon those who want to do violence not to take that path, because Uganda has built a strong state capable of detecting that, because it has to hold a country as a one piece, contrary to the countries that we have seen breaking and breaking and breaking.
Okay. Thank you so much, gentlemen. There's a gentleman called Aaron. You're Aaron Fanero. You were asking something about Martha Karua being able to litigate in the country. I don't know, Counsel, can you use a minute or two? Can Martha Karua...
Yeah, she can, but subject to her getting a special license from... the Ugandan system can give her a license. So she can, there are procedures she can, since she's an advocate in Kenya.
All right, thank you so much. This is Counsel Eron Kiiza and, of course, Honorable Retired Counsel Major Pollar, Awich from the National Resistance Movement. It's been a pleasure having you watching us from the time we started up to right now, just 1 minute to the top of the hour. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. I have been with Lillian on camera, and of course, Mr. Alibawa Ali is the gentleman in production. We shall see you tomorrow at exactly 8 a.m. Please do tune in on the Mighty Drive Show. We shall be returning right here with Farida Bikobere. So I'll see you then. But until next time, God bless you and God bless Uganda. Good night.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.